Now, you take the first elements that were created and adapt their visual identity to the other assets. Here I have created a new file, same way as I showed you before, and this is going to be my webcam design. So here I'm going to head to Illustrator, create my webcam using the Pathfinder method that I showed. I'm going to create a rectangle just like this, then set my fill to black. Go ahead and center this real quick. All right, then go to Object, Path, Offset Path. Then I'm going to create 15 pixels offset, click OK. Then go ahead and create our webcam border using the Pathfinder tool. So here, Control-C and import this to Photoshop, Control-V and edit this as a shape layer. Then, this is very important, if you want to add this shape to your shape library, so you don't need to do this every time you open Photoshop, so you don't have to open Illustrator and do the border again, you can just select this tool here, the Path Selection tool, then select all of the paths, click Edit, Define Custom Shape. And then here, webcam frame. Once you do this, you can go to your shape tool here, which you have rectangles, triangles, and the shapes, and go to custom shape tool. And then here you will have created your webcam border shape. And then I have a string package group here that I'm going to be adding this shape. So to do this group, you just right click, then new shape group, and then type the name that you want and press OK. Select the shape here and then press shift and drag to create your webcam frame. And there we go. Let me set the fill to blue, and here we have our webcam. So now I'm going to be creating custom shapes. So I'm going to close the properties, convert this to a smart object, and then here inside the smart object we can start developing custom inner shapes and outer shapes to add more detail and depth to our webcam. So here, for example, I can create a shape like this. So let me create a new layer, and then I can create some shapes like this. For example, let me put some rulers here so I can guide myself and do this symmetrically. Here, for example, I can create some shapes such as this one right here. There we go. And then right click and then define custom shape. You can create new shapes like this, or you can just fill this here if you don't want to add this to your shape library. So here I have some custom shapes that I can use, for example, here on the border of my webcam to create more detail and more depth to our design. Something like this. If you press Ctrl S to save this smart object, here you will have the updated version in just one smart object layer. And then if you double click this, you can add this composition again. Here I'm going to develop my webcam. By doing this, I'm going to create some other shapes and develop the rest of my webcam. And also after that, I'm going to be adding color and layer styles to add more detail. So there you go, I added some more detail and overall added more shapes and created more complex composition. So here if I press Ctrl S to save this smart object, we can go ahead and see that it was updated here. And now we can start applying color and layer styles to this webcam frame smart object here. These small elements here, I want them to be a different color and maybe a different layer style. So I'm going to go ahead and by pressing shift and clicking on the elements that you want, you can select them individually. And then I'm going to be moving them outside of the smart object so we can control them individually. Here, Control C and Control V. You need to press Control S so you can see the updated version here. And now we can actually control our webcam border and the main shapes here and these small elements individually. What I'm going to do next is apply some layer styles to our main border. So here I'm going to add inner shadow for some 3D effect to add more depth to it. The same technique that I showed you before. So overlay, 100% of opacity and 2 pixels of distance. You can see that it creates this nice 3D effect. And also I'm going to add a little bit, just a little bit of outer glow. And now I'm gonna go ahead and select this background that we have right here. And also the final effects, I'm gonna duplicate them. So the background and the final effects, and I'm gonna merge them together. So here we have a merged background with the final effects here. I'm gonna press Control A, so you select the whole composition, Control C, and then add to this composition here, Control V. We can use this background to add detail to the webcam. We can use it inside the webcam by creating a clipping mask here. Basically, the background was added to our webcam border with the layer styles of our webcam border. So you can see now that the glow is a little bit too much. I'm gonna lower the opacity of the glow, but you can already see the nice effect that just by adding background that we already did, I think it looks really nice. And here, I'm gonna delete this background. We don't need this here. And now I'm gonna make some adjustments, do some details, change the color of these main elements and apply layer styles. So here I'm just gonna finish polishing and doing the last details. We can finish this design and start the alert. Using the same background that I applied the clipping mask here, you can also mess around with the scale and see how this fits better to your design. So I like this design here. I think it looks really nice. So you can also mess around with the scale and try to incorporate better this design to your webcam border, see how you like it better. So here we have our finished webcam. I also incorporated this circle here so we can basically fit the webcam with the concept and the shapes of our screen. And I think it works really nicely with the overall design. So now we're going to go ahead and develop the overlay slots for the webcam and then do the same process to create the alerts and the panels. So here we have the finished webcam design. Basically, I just added a few more details so you can see I added some extra particles to the borders of the webcam here and also some lights. So just so you can see, I added this light here, some lights here on the borders and also particles. And here you can also notice that I finished the overlay slot design. So basically I did this by using the same techniques that I showed you earlier by developing a main shape using the pen tool and then adding the background that we had earlier when developing the screen, this background here, adding it to the shape background so we can have a matching design, applying the same visual identity, and also using some details such as this triangle here that I created for the webcam, which I think will also help make it fit with the whole design. I'm going to be doing the alert. So here in Illustrator, I have some sketches. Basically, I use the pen tool here and try to find shapes that I think would fit best with the overall design. Tried some different shapes for the overlay slot, but I decided that this one would fit really well with my overall design. I did try to create some shapes for the alert, And this one is the one that I liked the most, so I'm going to be using this to develop our alert. So here I want to import separately each shape. So this top one here, our main shape for the alert, and this circle here, because I want them in separate files in Photoshop so we can manipulate these shapes better. Go to Photoshop. Let me go ahead and create a new layer here. Then Illustrator, select this shape here, Control C, then Control V, and paste as shape layer. So here we have one of our shapes. Let me just go ahead and select a blue color so we can see it better. And then I'm going to import this main shape here as shape layer and import this circle here. Control C and Control V. And there we go. We have the main shapes for our alert design. But go ahead and set some rulers so you know where the center is and you can guide yourself. So here I'm just going to place them all in the center. So there we have this one, then this one, and connect this one to our shape. Okay, and then this is very small. I'm just going to scale it up a little bit so we can add some more detail and know what we're doing here. Okay, this is a good size. Then I'm going to go ahead and center this. And we can start now incorporating the visual design, the visual effects to this alert here so it matches our other assets. You're basically going to do this by doing the same technique that I used earlier to create the webcam frame. So I'm going to go ahead and put some layer styles here. So inner shadow for this one, I actually want white inner shadow to create that 3D effect. So overlay, 100% opacity, size and choke 0, and 2 of distance. I'm going to add some inner glow here. Let me go ahead and show you how to create this outer shape here. So you have this nice effect here, which I also used in the overlay slot to create kind of a box where you can put your text. So to select this shape and create that outline, I go basically here and press Ctrl on your keyboard and click here. You will select this whole shape, then go ahead to select, modify, and contract. For this here, I want to contract it by 10 pixels. So here you can see that we have this selection here now, then create a new layer. With this tool here, you can press M for this tool and then right click here and press fill. And then you can choose your color, but this won't matter. I'm going to choose black for this one so you can see it better, but then press OK and then OK here. And you can see that we have created a different shape here and we have this one doing an outline here, a border, which looks really cool. So now we're going to go ahead and create this border for this one right here on top as well. So I'm actually going to scale this up a little bit because I want to put our text here. So this alert will work, for example, new subscriber alert, new donation. So each time you have a new subscriber, the subscriber's name will appear here. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this up. So we have space for the text. And also, I'm gonna make this a little bit taller here. We can also modify this. This looks good. Then same thing here. I'm gonna use the selection, select tab, and then modify and contract by 5 pixels. This one. And then fill, and there we go. So now I want to be incorporating the design. Same thing as I did here for the overlay slot. I'm gonna go ahead and select our background here. So I'm going to be using this background and using it as a clipping mask and using it as our background here. You can see that it already created a really nice effect. So you can go ahead and mess around with the scale and position and try to find a position that you like the most. I think this looks really good. Something like this. Okay. I'm going to also go ahead and apply my outer glow now and see how this looks. Yeah, this looks really nice. I'm going to go ahead and apply this same technique that I did here for this other border and the same layer styles and continue the development of the alert basically by using the same techniques and applying some special effects such as particles and the lights. Okay, so now we have our main shapes done for the alert here. It looks really nice already. I'm gonna just be applying the last details and final effects. So here in our webcam, you can see that I have these extra shapes here. So I'm going to be putting these triangles, these shapes here, just to create some more detail to the alert. And also for this circle here, I'm going to be using the same one that we have here centered our webcam. So I'm going to go ahead and just add these extra details. I'm going to also be placing the background that we have inside this shape here, but making sure it isn't as visible, just so we have some more detail here as well. Something like this looks really nice. So just to make sure we have some extra details, I'm going to mess around and try some different positions, but just so we don't have a plain black background here. Okay, so I just finished adding some particles and lights here, as well as the other shapes and details that I said. And here we have it, the final alert design. I think it looks really nice, actually. It fits with the other visual identity that we had, so we're using the same elements. So you can see we have the circles here, we have the same details that we put into the webcam. So everything fits really well together, and overall I'm really happy with this design. I'm just gonna go ahead and center this background here. We have the finished alert design. Now that we have the finished alert design, I'm gonna show you how to create the panel and the intermission, and we will finish all the other assets so we can go ahead and start animating. So here for the panel design, I've created a basic shape here. Same thing in Illustrator using the pen tool. So here I'm going to go ahead and right click, convert to smart object. And then here inside the smart object, we can start manipulating this shape. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and basically do the same thing that we did here for the alerts, the overlay slot, and the webcam. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my design here, and then I'm going to show you how to optimize and create panels fast so you can also export them at once. Okay, so there we go. Once you have your final design done, you're going to press Ctrl S in this Smart Object tab so you can save it. Once you go back to the other tab, you'll see that this layer here, the panel design, is updated. And here you can put the text that you want. So for example, here we have the About Me panel. So here I'm going to type About Me, place this centered here, and change this to white. I'm going to be using the same layer style that I used for this text here that we have. If you right click and copy layer style, you can copy this layer style and paste another text as well. So here, paste layer style, and change the color of my text to white. And there we go. Just going to go ahead and lower this a little bit because I want this a little more bright. And to create other panels in a fast way, you can go ahead and let me delete this one. Okay, About Me. So you can go ahead and duplicate this and change, for example, if you want the subscriber panel, you can just go ahead and change the text here for subscriber. And there you go. You have your panels here. So subscriber and About Me. If you want to change the design for your panel so you don't have to modify all the other panels. So for example, here, let me put this here so you can see. If you change the design inside the smart object, to illustrate this, I'm just going to hide this background here and press Ctrl S. So everything that you do here and then press Ctrl S to update, it will change in all the other designs. So you don't have to worry about having to recreate each panel that you're doing. So here, let me go ahead, put this again and press Ctrl S to save. And there we go, we have our panel design finished.